What's up, YouTube fam? Welcome back to the channel. We got a different type of episode for you guys today. We have a PowerPoint presentation on how to never lose another trade selling options. So let's get into it. I want to make this as simple as possible. I want you to understand on a deeper level. So I tried to put together this little presentation and hopefully it will help you guys understand what we're doing, how to roll, how to turn losers into winners. So let's get into it. So the first thing is obviously starting off by selling puts, right? We love to sell puts first because it allows us to have a strike below the current price. So if a stock is at 60, we can sell puts for a 55 or a 50, right? Which allows the entry to beat the current price entry. So again, what does that mean? It means you're only going to be in the stock if it goes below where it's at currently, right? So if we pull up any type of stock on a chart, whatever it might be, the put entry, or sorry, your buy-in, right, is going to be lower than wherever it is when you enter and decide to sell a put. Now the benefit, right, is if the stock goes up, the put loses value, so you profit. As an option seller, you profit when the put loses value. So if it loses value and the stock goes up, then you get to profit, and if it goes down, you'll still get the premium and you'll have a better entry than if you just bought. Of course, if it goes down, you can roll. So why should you roll? Well, rolling allows you to preserve capital, right? So let's go to this example. In this example, and this is a screenshot of my account today, you have $21,138 in the account. Now, when you look at our current positions, right, what do you see? You see this TSLL, okay, and you see this CONL. Now, when you look at the math of the current positions, this position costed $20,000 and this one cost $6,000. So even though my account is currently at $21,138, I'm currently using $26,000 in capital. So rolling is what allows that. Rolling allows you to use the original amount in capital from when you took the trade. So when I opened this CONL position that has lost us, all of our account profit, since I rolled it, it allows us to act as if we hadn't lost anything, because at the moment we really haven't. So even though the account reflects a loss, the reality is since we've rolled, we're still at 26. So if I would have gotten assigned, if I would have closed the position, if I would have done any of those things, then we would have taken the loss, right? And at that point, we wouldn't have enough money to take these two positions together. We would have to have crafted something else up. But since we rolled, it doesn't matter that our current account says 21.1. We're actually still acting and still proceeding as if our account is at 26,000. So that's the real benefit to rolling, is that you're buying time in exchange, not actually losing the money. So if this sounds so good, when shouldn't you roll, right? Because it can't possibly be this good where it's just too good to be true. So the answer is if you think the stock is going to go back up quickly, or if it's very close to your strike. And the reason being is because if it goes up quickly, the capital gains will exceed the premium collected. So for example, if CONL, right, and let's just go with the 400 shares, right? Let's just go with my position. Let's say on the expiration date, which as you guys can see is January 17th, let's say if it expires at $48, right? So that would be $2 below my strike, right? At that point, you're probably better off not rolling, right? Especially if it looks like it's on an upward trajectory, right? Like if the stock looks like it's falling fast and it expires right below your strike, then yeah, maybe roll it or just get out of the position. But if it looks like it's coming back up, then you probably don't want to roll it, right? Because think about this, if it expires right below your strike and then shoots up, the capital gains will exceed the premium collected, right? And I'll get into that more. But if CONL was going to expire, let's just say at $40 or less, and you had a $50 strike with a downward trajectory, right? Kind of like exactly what I dealt with, right? If you've been following this channel and you've seen everything I've done, how I've managed every play, then you would know why I had to roll, right? Because right now crypto is in a clear, correction phase, and who knows how long it's going to take to go back up. So rolling basically was my only option. So let's look at the numbers, okay? Again, let's say CONL expires at 48 and your strike was 50 for 4 contracts, not contractors. At first, you'd be down 800, right? Because it's $100. It's 100 shares times by 4, and it's $2 off, right? But let's say it goes up to 60 within the next week. Now you're up $4,000. If it goes up to 70, you're up 8,000 and so on. But keep in mind, if you rolled, right? So let's say it expired at 48 and you rolled and it does that type of movement, you're only going to be collecting the premium, which might only be $500, which might only be $1,000. So, that's exactly why it's like if it expires right below your strike and it's shooting up and it looks like it's going to keep going up and everything is looking super bullish, you probably don't want to roll, and you probably don't want to even sell covered calls yet, right? You probably want to let it ride and then get into the covered calls after, you're up and in good profit. You almost want to sell covered calls when it looks like you're at a take profit type of zone, right? So a lot of times you're better off not just getting right into the covered calls, or if you want to get right into covered calls, making sure the strike is far. So that's all for rolling puts, right? When it comes to covered call rolling, it's the same concept, except at least with covered calls, you'd be gaining money regardless, right? So as long as your strike is above your entry, even if it does go up, you will always be making profit. But when you roll, you're allowing yourself to not have to sell yourself short on gains. So what I mean by that is, let's say you sell covered calls on Connell for a $46 strike and it goes up to 52. You can roll, right? Forfeit some premium. So this way you don't need to sell at 46, but you can sell at 49, 50, or maybe even higher. So just looking at the option chain, right? Connell's at 42 currently. Let's say you sold $45 calls. So that means you're going to collect 420 premium per contract, plus you would get the capital gains from 42.08 to 45. But let's say it goes all the way up to 50 or 48. You're probably not going to want to sell at 45, right? Because now you're costing yourself $300. So you can roll. Ultimately, you would be forfeiting basically this. Now, one thing to keep in mind, right, or I guess things in general to note, is that you want the contract you're rolling into, the premium, to be higher because, so basically, right, if the stock goes up, these calls go up, right? So if you roll into a premium that is a lower price, you are going to be paying a fee, a debit, as we can call it. So that's why you can't roll the same date, right? That's why it doesn't work the way you might think where, oh, I can just roll down the same date or it's so simple. No, you have to go for a later date because options are more expensive the further they are from expiration, right? And the closer they are to the current price, right? So at 42.08, this one's 490, but as you go further from current price, it gets cheaper, right? Obviously, if you go down this way, it'll get more expensive. If you go, I guess I'll leave the PowerPoint for a second and go into the option chain just so you guys can see it, right? So let's just view all options. So notice how when we're at the money, right, these are the most expensive, but obviously if you go lower in the money, it gets more expensive. But when you roll, you want to roll further out of the money. So let's say you sold calls right now for a $45 strike and a 420 premium, and let's say by January 17th, it's at 49, right? What you would want to do is you'd want to roll. Now, see how it's more expensive for 49. You would be able to essentially, instead of sell at 45, roll it to the 48 and either collect a small credit or pay a small debit. So you wouldn't be able to just go super far, right? And let's say raise your exit price to 60, because if you try to do that, the debit might get so high where it's not worth it. Obviously, it depends on the situation. Every situation is different. I'm trying to just give you guys the most general understanding of how it works. And again, when it comes to selling covered calls and rolling covered calls, the good part is you're making money regardless, right? It's like the stock went up, it went past your entry, you're collecting premium. Like no matter what, you're profiting if you're rolling, but rolling is a way to make more. It's like with selling puts, rolling is a way to lose less, and with selling calls, rolling is a way to make more. So again, it's very different every single situation, every single position. They're all their own beast. And as I just mentioned in bullet point number 2, if the premium that you roll into is lower than your current premium, you will have to pay a fee as opposed to receiving a credit, which I am trying to lose as little as possible and gain as much as possible. So keep it in mind, right? Rolling isn't always necessary or beneficial. You must have margin enabled to roll. So you don't need to necessarily use a lot of margin, but you must have it enabled on your account to roll. If you wait too long to roll, you might get assigned early. So let's say it's a Friday and the stock, and that's your expiration. you're probably not gonna be able to roll at 3:30 p.m. on a Friday when the market closes at 4 and your options expire at 4. So do it early on a Friday, right? If you're gonna wait till the last day, and don't roll on something that might go bust, right? So if you're in a stock that's just dumping, missing earnings, clearly going to go bankrupt, you probably don't want to roll. But if you're in a stock that you genuinely trust, something that you truly believe in, something that is having relative strength compared to the rest of the market, then it could be worth rolling. So that's really the best way I can explain it. Obviously, there's so much more to cover in the sense of every play is different, every position is different. There's a million things we can talk about. There's a million different positions and a million different ways to trade. But in terms of general understanding, I hope that this little presentation, I tried to do it quick. I tried to make it simple, and I hope that you guys were able to understand it. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Check out the free Discord. The link is in the description. We got a lot going on, a lot of great option sellers in there. It's just an unbelievable chat. Great place to network with other people doing this. And again, I hope to see you guys in there. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to comment your thoughts, comment what you want me to cover next. Make sure to subscribe for more content, and I'll see you guys in the next one.